Only thing I have to say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that's an age-old little acronym or whatever saying that applies to today. It looks like, and I've seen this article before, and I'm going to make a couple other comments on this. U.S. weapons are full of fake Chinese parts, and thousands of United States warplanes, ships, and missiles contain fake electronic components from China, leaving them open to malfunction, according to the U.S. Senate committee. Which, if they used a little bit of common sense in the first place, I would have never done that. I know like a lot of military components are actually being bought from China, and they have no idea what the hell they're getting in a lot of cases. This has been known for years. Now it's like they made a big discovery of all of a sudden. In total, the committee said it had found more than 1 million fake parts that have made their way into warplanes such as the Boeing C-17 transport jet, Lockheed Martin C-130. These are cargo planes. They also talk about in 7 out of 10 cases the fake parts originated from China, but another 20% of the cases came from the UK and Canada, but known as resale points for Chinese counterfeits. So, there's people in there just reselling. Military-grade chips are designed to withstand the greater extremes of temperature and humidity. In other words, a lot more vibration, extremes of everything. It has to work in all circumstances. We cannot tolerate the risk of ballistic missile interceptor failing to hit its target, a helicopter pilot. All this talk, John McCain, I could tell you a lot of stuff about this guy. You'd be surprised. Former POW. Oh boy. Yeah, right. The U.S. has been dismantling its factories since the 1960s. No kidding. You waking up now? Weapons dealers will be providing cheaper quality products. They're talking. The attack on China is political, given the forthcoming elections. I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you right now, part of the reason you're getting, discovery might be, or the media attention this is getting right now might be political. But it's been going on for years, and I knew about it. But it should not be blaming China. This is a free market issue. I have to agree with that because the people are procuring these parts and they fully know what's going on. The only solution the U.S. has is to buy its components from Korea and Japan instead, but then cost will be 100-fold. Well, they can also buy them from the United States because their failed policy of exporting manufacturing overseas is going to come to a grinding halt, and that's something I mentioned yesterday. Oil prices is going to stop globalization in its tracks. I know it's only at 97 a barrel. It's moving up. This is the WTI. This is on Kitco. Looking at the metals taking a hit. But this is going to be double by the first half of next year. That's going to end a lot of things going on where they're shipping things back and forth across the world. It's going to stop that pretty fast. Now, I can't believe the smartest people in the world don't know this. But it could be a shrewd game that they're playing. But I want to point out something with this. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The United States has always been traditionally the best, highest quality manufacturing country in the world. And, getting out of that entertainment mode and getting back to work is really what makes the difference. I'm going to point out something too. And this is I was curious at what Wikipedia put down about this landing craft vehicle personnel that the Marine Corps used in World War II and also in the Korean War. They don't mention they mention it was designed by Andrew Higgins, but they don't have anything in this article. And this goes to show you just how bad bureaucracy is in the government. I think it was the 10 or 11 years that the Navy, the Bureau Navy of Shipbuilding, was trying to design this craft. I think it was 10 or 11 years. They could not come up with any kind of workable design, and a thing, if it was in rough waters, it would practically sink. It was that bad. This guy, Higgins, He came up with this in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Now, what he used to build was for the bootleggers and rum runners. He used to use a low draft craft to go up on the Mississippi Delta flats and haul their products inland. So he was kind of familiar with these type of crafts. But he took this from his brain to an actual working product, which we have here, inside of 2 weeks. Not even working from blueprints. So that kind of tells you, you know, red tape and the government doing things, forget about it. They don't do anything right. I mean, they're bad news. People have to make the thing happen, and that's just what happens. A little side note about bootlegging and the way it came about. You know, they make them look like the worst people in the world, but the whole Prohibition Act, and I know I'm going a little off subject, but I think this is interesting. The whole Prohibition Act was actually fostered by Rockefeller. Rockefeller in the oil industry was getting a lot of competition from the farmers who were producing alcohol fuel that the Model A and Model T ran on just fine, besides the gasoline products from the crude oil, which came from the cities. So to knock out this competition, he gave $4 million. It was in the 1800s to the Prohibition movement run by these women. So, you know, he had a hell of a lot to get that act passed, because, you know, every person that voted for it that in the legislature was more likely a male who drank. So, you know, but what it did was it stopped the production of alcohol in this country. But quite obviously, people just did what the hell they wanted anyway, and they had to repeal the act. But alcohol was stopped not because people were drinking, but it was because it was a fuel in competition with Rockefeller. It's oil, crude oil, gasoline from crude oil. But I just want to point out, there are so many things behind the scenes going on that I guess if the common people knew it, they would be too scared and hide their head in a hole. But my point is, you know, don't think that China is this big manufacturing giant that, you know, the United States can't keep up with, because they're using a lot of slave labor. There's a lot of scams going on, and they knew this stuff for many years. You know, these articles are just coming out. I'll post a link on this, and I've read these articles that are coming out. I know it's partly political, but it's true too. So, you know, I don't know, these elitists are a bunch of morons, to tell you the truth. They really are stupid. One thing we could possibly do for our military, and I know this is something maybe a lot of people aren't interested in, but one of the most simple things is to change the cartridge on the actual rifle that they use. And I know they got problems because NATO uses the same rifle, but, you know, the way I look at it, they just change this. A lot of people in the Marine Corps that know this type of stuff have wanted this cartridge to be changed on the rifle for, I don't know, a decade, almost a decade. It's called the 6.5 Grendel. It's based upon, and I don't know, maybe I'm getting on something people don't know about, but it's based upon the Swedish 6.5. It's the same round. It's an excellent round that, you know, can take down larger game and things like that. It was used for hunting in Europe mainly for many, many years. It's ballistically very superior as far as distances it can travel. But the main point is, we would hardly have to make any modification to the actual rifle other than a barrel change and the magazine changes. That's it. The round itself, size-wise, is much smaller than the 308, which is this big one here, pictured. But ballistically, this one in the center, the 6.5 Grendel, is actually stronger when it gets out to 300 yards. Yet its weight, you can carry about 28 of these rounds for 30 of the rounds that are half the projectile size, and yet this round in the middle is actually stronger than the largest round here, the 308 or the 7.62 millimeter. This is an extremely simple change. I don't know why the hell they don't do it. Like I said, I do know why they don't do it, because they're a big bureaucracy in the government and the military. And this probably isn't going to be a major cost where a lot of big bucks are going to be going into something. It's actually a small, would account for a very small portion of the military budget. But it would have a major impact on saving the lives of American military. That is a fact. And there's a lot of people in the Marine Corps been pushing for this. But just want to point out two things. Made in the USA has always been the best. You know, they think they're getting away cheap by buying parts from other countries. You know, it's pay me now or pay me later. So to take the parts out of these planes and weapon systems, how much it's going to cost in labor? Far more than the part. Do it right the first time. You don't have to do it over again. And I had to point out about this because I was wondering what Wikipedia said about this. But they didn't say nothing about the 10 years that the Bureau of Navy Shipbuilding spent trying to make this boat that this Andrew Higgins made in 2 weeks. You know? And he made the right thing that worked. You know, the Bureau of Navy Shipbuilding took 10 years and they didn't even have a working product. So, word to the wise, you know, getting right back to basics is what's going to turn the United States around. Now, you know, nobody in the government's going to save anybody from anything. And protesting your butt off out there in the streets is not going to really do a whole hell of a lot unless you're protesting and focusing in on the exact individuals, the 100 or so, that are really causing the most problems. Don't face off with the cops. That's not a smart thing to do.